Hey everybody, what's going on? If you work in the tech space, you've probably heard that in the past few weeks there have been massive layoffs, thousands upon thousands of people being laid off from big tech companies, and it is not a pleasant time. It's a very difficult time for everybody involved in tech. Everybody's worrying about their jobs, what's happening around the world, particularly with the rumors about the recession that's been coming along or creeping along for the past few months or so. And what I want to do in this video is share with you one of my experiences of being let go, how I was completely unprepared for it, and what you can do to prepare for situations like this, particularly because I believe being let go or being fired from a job is part of your career growth. As counterintuitive as it might sound, it does help you grow. It does help you become a better career person if you are a career-oriented person. So I believe that it is something that you have to keep in mind, that it might happen at least once in your career lifetime. If it doesn't happen, great. But I do believe that if you are good at what you do and you advocate what you do, you are going to come across a situation where you might be let go or might be fired. And you need to be prepared for this, and you need to know how to deal with this. I've been in the tech industry, particularly in cybersecurity, for close to 2 decades now, and I have been let go. Well, I can't really tell you how many times, otherwise I'll be exposing all the lies on my CV, wouldn't I? I'm just kidding. My CV is 100% accurate and honest, just like yours, no? Yeah? All right, jokes aside, let's understand why you might find yourself in a situation like this. I think there are 5 different scenarios where a person might be let go, and 2 of these we really don't have much control about or over, and the other 3 you have control over, or you have some kind of influence over. The first 2 we're not going to dwell too much on because, like I said, they are out of our control. So the first one is if there is sort of like a global recession, global economic crisis, there's a pandemic, there is something affecting the economy in your country, in your organization, they are downsizing, they're laying people off. Chances are there isn't much you can do about it, right? But you need to be prepared for it. The second one is if there is some kind of situation that is affecting the company itself. So company related, not country related, not globally related, the company itself. And again, there isn't something or there isn't much you can do about it. So the first time I was let go was in a situation exactly like this. I joined a company that was very rapidly growing, and the reason that they were sort of ramping up and they were on hiring spree and trying to grow really quick is because they wanted to sell the company. So they wanted to show that the company is big, there's a lot of revenue, there's a lot of employees, and they sort of bit more than they could chew. What ended up happening is that some employees went without pay for months. They couldn't afford their salaries, and they started letting people go, and I was one of them. I was one of them because they had their excuses, I had my excuses, but I believe it's because I was one of the newer joiners. And you are going to see this trend. When a company starts laying off people, usually they start with the newest people first. And you've seen this now across the entire social media platforms, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, people saying that I've joined this company 2 months ago, I've relocated and I've joined that company 3 months ago, and I'm being let go now. So you need to be prepared and expecting this. And when that happened to me, I wasn't prepared. I didn't have any savings. I was in a foreign country where I had to worry about my visa. And these are situations you don't want to find yourself in. So what that taught me, a very important lesson, 2 lessons actually from that experience that I would like to share with you before moving on to the other points, is that 1, if you are joining a company that's on a hiring spree, that is growing very, very rapidly, be careful, ask the right questions, and understand what is the risk of joining such a company. And I talk in other videos about how you can ask the right questions in interviews. I'm gonna go over these again. Feel free to go and watch these videos, but you need to be able to ask the correct questions and understand what you're getting yourself into. And 2, now in hindsight, it goes without saying that be financially prepared. Have some savings. I ended up by selling my bike, selling my belongings, almost selling the clothes off my back, and moving in with a friend at that time. It was a tough time. It was a very difficult time. So be prepared financially, have some savings, and prepare for a day like this if and when it happens. So these are the 2 points that usually you don't have a lot of control over. One, something global. Two, something company related. They bit more than they could chew. They sort of, dropped the ball and they started laying people off. The other 3 situations where these things would happen is, based on my experience, is if you have joined a company with the wrong culture. This is one. If you have joined the wrong team, even if it's in the right company. And the third one is if you are in the right company and the right team, but you have the wrong boss or bosses. Yeah. So let's talk about these. The first one is if you join the right company, but with the wrong culture. So you're very excited about a company. It's one of the dreams come true, joining this company. You walk into the company, you start working, and you realize that the company's culture is something that is not sitting well with you. No matter what it is. Let's say they like to go out for drinks every evening and you don't like drinking. Maybe they like to go and play football and you are not into sports. Maybe they like to go, for a smoke every 15 minutes and you're not a smoker. And maybe there is certain cliques that you need to be sort of clicking with, you need to be part of. So some people call this politics, some people call this culture. It could be a combination of both. Even if you are doing an outstanding job, even if you are really getting things done and you are adding value to the team, eventually what's going to happen is if you are not gelling well with this culture and you are not feeling that you're part of this team, is that you're going to start to become sort of isolated. And you are sort of like getting sidelined. You will be passed for raises, you will be passed for promotions, and eventually this is going to get to you. And it is going to affect your performance. Your performance is going to deteriorate. Not only that, but because you're not gelling well with the culture, when the time comes for your advancement in the careers, like I said, you are going to get bypassed and eventually even maybe let go at a certain point in time. So that's the first one. Now, luckily, that doesn't happen very often. People try to adapt with the culture, sometimes successfully. Sometimes you find yourself, doing things that you don't enjoy doing just so you can sort of get along with the team, get along with the company culture, which isn't something I suggest you do. But, it could end up working well. The second one is if you join the wrong team, which is a little bit more common. So let's say, for example, you're a cricketer. You love cricket, you're amazing at cricket, and you want to play cricket. Unfortunately, there isn't a lot of vacancies in cricket teams. Let's just assume that. So you go and look around and you sort of settle for another role in a baseball team. And at the end of the day, it's pretty much the same sports, right? There's sticks, there's balls, and they pretty much do the same thing, stand around the playfield. I'm kidding. I know nothing about either sports, but to me, this is what it looks like. So you go and you settle. You say, okay, fine, good enough. I got my stick, I got my balls, and I'm going to go join this baseball team and try to make the most out of it. But here's what's happening. You're settling, right? You are not doing exactly what is it that you want to do. You are maybe having fun for a little bit while, maybe you are growing for a while, but you're not going to have the same drive as you would have if you were part of a cricket team. Let's say you're a pen tester and you know pen testing well and you love pen testing. Maybe you can't find a nice job or a proper job in pen testing. You see an opening in, let's say, incident response. You can transition some of these skills into incident response. You understand how things get hacked. You can do a little bit of analysis. You can report on these incidents, analyze these incidents, and so on. But is that really what you want to do? Can you live with the pressure of the life of an incident responder? There is very short notice travel, a lot of pressure, clients and customers on your back all the time, trying to figure out what's happening, making sure that you get the appropriate correct results, making sure the hack doesn't happen again. It is a well-paying job, but there's a lot of pressure on incident responders. Is that something you can handle? At the end of the day, maybe not. Maybe that's not something you're enjoying. You're settling for a while, but you're not going to shine. You're not going to sort of become the best that you could be in that career. And what's going to happen is that this is going to show. And eventually, that might result of you being transferred or let go. Now, the third one that is all too common, particularly in large international organizations, and I've went through this more than once, is when you have more than one boss, or a boss that is in a completely different location, completely different time zone. What's going to happen in this instance? By the way, this is something that right now, after I have become a senior, I absolutely love. I don't mind at all having a boss or a manager that is a macro manager, doesn't micromanage me, lets me do my own thing and report maybe once a week, because I know what I'm doing. I'm a senior now. But as a junior, as somebody who's starting out, this is going to be pretty stressful and not very useful to have a boss or a manager that is not even in the same country, because it is going to be very difficult for them to evaluate what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. And when they don't see what you're doing, when they don't see you being productive, they are going to assume that you're sitting on your hands doing absolutely nothing, where that might not be true. And this is something that happened with me. So I had a manager that was in a different country, and I was busy working on a pen test. He asked me to share some of the findings and what I've done, and he assumed that I wasn't doing much at all where I was. And we ended up having this argument, and eventually he sort of relented and he realized that, he was a little bit wrong, but that wasn't his fault. It was completely my fault. Why? Because I wasn't communicating with him on a daily basis. And that's something you want to do. If you find yourself in a situation with a boss or a manager that is in a different country, in a different time zone, make sure that you are regularly communicating with your manager on what it is that you're doing. Show them proactively that you are being productive, that you are producing nice work, and make sure that they are aware of this. Otherwise, the assumption is going to be, you're not getting the job done. This is, by the way, why HR now wants people back in the office after the pandemic, because they want them to see what they're doing. Otherwise, they just assume you're sitting at home doing nothing. Whereas you and I know that working from home, you're actually putting in a lot more work than being in the office. But they don't see that. Why? Because we're not communicating this with them sort of periodically and consistently. So these are the three situations that you could have control over that might end up in you getting let go. So the first one is you join the company with the wrong culture, and this is something that you can deal with before you join the company by asking the right questions in the interviews. Make sure that you watch my other videos on how to interview and what kind of questions you can ask and what are the red flags in the interviews. If you sort of missed the boat and you joined the company already, you want to try to adapt to this culture. If you're finding that this is uncomfortable, it's not something you want to do or you're comfortable doing, then there isn't much you can do, unfortunately, apart from trying to move to another company. So that's the first one. The second one is joining the wrong team. And we gave the example of you being a cricketer playing baseball or a pen tester doing IR. It might be okay for a while, but you will know deep down inside that you're settling. It's not something that you are happy doing or you want to do. And eventually your performance will deteriorate, and there is a very good chance that you might get a couple warnings and eventually being let go. So make sure that you get out of the situation as soon as possible. And the last one is if you have a manager that is not appreciating what you're doing, not or to any fault of their own, maybe because they are in a different country, different time zone, it is up to you to showcase what you are doing, to showcase your productivity on a regular, consistent basis. At the end of the day, being let go is something that you should expect. It is part of your career growth. And if it happens, don't take it hard on yourself. It is something that will help you grow as a person. It will help your career grow. You will learn a lot of lessons from it, believe you me. It happened to me. Again, I'm not going to tell you how many times, but be prepared for it. Most important lesson is be prepared for it financially as well. Make sure that you have a little bit of saving. Make sure that you have a safety net. And I appreciate that's not something that everybody can do, but if you can, please make sure that you have a safety net. That's it from me for now. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you soon in another video.